world history students. This is video 2.1 about Africa and African rulers around the time 1500. I just want to take a quick moment and remind you that you got to write more than just the words on the screen. Like, I don't put a lot of words on the screen. You need to listen to what I'm saying, or I guess use the captions. That means you need to have headphones on. If you're watching this in the classroom, you should have some headphones on. I'm not going to make a big deal about it, but if you don't have the headphones on, you're not doing the notes right and your grades are going to be bad. That's just how it is. I don't want that for you. So put some headphones on. These are the 4 places in Africa that we're going to talk about today. Songhai in West Africa, Congo in Central Africa, Ethiopia in East Africa, and the Swahili Coast, which is also in East Africa. So we're going to talk about those 4 different places, and we're going to talk about how African rulers there were able to maintain power and control. And a lot of that had to do with controlling trade. So we're going to start with the Songhai Empire, which is located on the map where I put the words Songhai Empire. And so we got Muslim merchants. A merchant is what we call the person who buys and sells things for a living, right? So these Muslim merchants in North Africa, they've got salt. People below the Songhai Empire have gold in the country is what today is called Ghana. And so the Muslims want that gold. The people in Ghana want that salt because salt preserves food and it's a necessary mineral to keep you alive. And so this led to trans-Saharan trade. They established trade routes that crossed the Sahara Desert. And they would take caravans of camels, usually, across the Sahara Desert, stopping at different pit stops along the way where they could get some water. And then right in the middle of this is the Songhai Empire. So how does the Songhai Empire control trade? They're right there in the middle of it. And they're right there in the middle of the trade routes. And if you want to cross through the Songhai Empire, you have to pay a tax. That's how they do it. So by taxing trade, the emperors of Songhai were able to make a lot of money, and then they were able to use that money to do all the things that a government is going to do, which includes hiring soldiers and having military power, right? This is Mansa Musa, who falls outside the time period of the class. This is earlier, maybe around 1100s. I can't remember the exact year, but I put him in here because Mansa Musa is from this region, West Africa, and he controlled the trans-Saharan trade in gold and salt, and it made him, the story is that Mansa Musa is the world's richest man ever. Richer than Elon Musk. Ugh, I hate saying that name. That guy's a toad. Do not like him. Anyway, Mansa Musa put Elon Musk to shame. He was so wealthy that apparently when he went on his pilgrimage to Mecca, he took a trip to Mecca in Saudi Arabia, he gave away so much gold that he created, he devalued gold. Gold became worth less money because it was so easy to get it. Because Mansa Musa was just handing it out right and left. Like a G. I don't have to reset the thing. I'm doing this during school. Also, I don't have to reset my wall if I do it during vid notes. Just saying. Okay, so another example of an African empire controlling trade is the Congo. The Kingdom of Congo is located here, where today it's called the Democratic Republic of the Congo, but the Kingdom of Congo is different. We spelled it with a K, by the way. Africans spelled Congo with a K. Europeans spelled it with a C. But they control the Congo River, which the Congo River is an important waterway that people are able to use to trade. And so the Kingdom of Congo is located where the Congo River meets the Atlantic Ocean. And this is a picture of the King of Congo's palace. And actually, Portugal in this time period, 1550 maybe, Portugal showed up in Africa. They had just developed ships to be able to reach Africa, and they tried to actually conquer Congo. And the Congolese sent out warships full of soldiers and defeated the Portuguese and turned them away. And so Portugal was like, meh, I guess we'll trade instead, and apologized and sent ambassadors to make up for it. But the Kingdom of Congo was no joke, and sometimes we forget that African kings were quite powerful. Europe wasn't more powerful than Africa yet. That'll happen later. Another example of Africans controlling trade is the Swahili coast. These are trading cities. They're not an empire, so they're different from the previous two. These are independent cities like Kilwa and Mogadishu and Zanzibar, which are on the east coast of Africa. And they have access to all of these natural resources. The most important two are gold and ivory, but there are others like tortoiseshells and timber and whatever that are desirable to people in other places like India and the Middle East. And so they become these incredibly important port cities where they're able to control trade because people need a place to stop. They can't like sail straight from one place to another. They need a place to stop. So you get taxed every time you stop. Taxing the trade makes the people money. Then they have control. Then they have power. The Swahili coast was incredibly diverse because they were in contact with India and the Middle East. They were exposed to like Islam and they were exposed to Indian culture. And so, like, actually, Kiswahili, is a language that combines the African language of Bantu with the Islamic language of Arabic. But you had these communities of like Africans and Jews and Muslims and Hindus all like living together in the same city in West Africa. This is um, incredibly different. And that's unique to the coast, right? The further into Africa you go, the more African things become. But when you get to the coast, where you have these cities that have these ports, then you have like all this diversity. Okay, now we're going to talk about religions, and it's not. I misspelled animism. Great. It's Animism. Animism. Anyway, sorry about that. Um, there's three religions we're going to talk about: animism, Islam, and Christianity. And animism is probably the most important one to start off with, and then it becomes less important over time because it gets displaced by Islam and Christianity. But during this time period, it's still a very big deal. And as you can see from this map, it says indigenous religions in yellow. And indigenous religions in Africa means animism. Animism is popular all around the world. It's the belief that everything has a spirit, right? Like objects, animals, uh, rivers, like that tree, that bear over there, like they all have a spirit, right? And so like you like do perform rituals that like bring you into like contact with those spirits. And sometimes people would put on these masks. I mean, there are specific, it's a very diverse, like there's many different African religions. So I'm trying to describe them all in a very broad way, but there are specific African religions where if you put on a specific mask and do a dance, and usually there's like some like music playing, and you do this dance, you like the spirit is supposed to enter your body and you like take on that spirit. So that's the traditional African religion. But then as Africa starts to trade with people, right, it starts to become exposed to these other cultures. And then one of the ways that it like, fostered or promoted that trade was by having people convert to the religion. So in West Africa, in Songhai, the rulers of Songhai converted to Islam, and that was in order to make themselves, like more desirable people to trade with for the Muslim merchants who were like bringing the salt and bringing the gold into their community. And so these rulers convert to Islam, and then they start to get some of the people below them to convert to Islam, and over time, like more and more of the place converts to Islam. Usually, though, they keep practicing animism along with the Islam. Like the people in West Africa do both. This is the Jenne Mosque, which is a West African mosque. A mosque, remember, is like a church for Muslims. It's a Muslim place of worship. It's very impressive. I would even say this counts as an example of monumental architecture. So the rulers of Songhai being able to build this impressive mosque, they're like showing people, one, how into Islam they are, and two, that they're like powerful enough that they can get something like this built. Christianity in Ethiopia. Okay, so Christians. Okay, before Islam was ever a thing, Egypt was Christian, and then later it converted to Islam. Um, but like trade with Egypt brought Christianity to Ethiopia. And then over time, Islam became a thing. And when it did, like the entire Muslim world got in between Ethiopia and Europe. And so Ethiopia evolved its own kind of Christianity separate from Europe. And here you can see an illustration of some Ethiopian images of Christianity. And you can see like black Virgin Mary with a black baby Jesus. Um, Another place where Christianity entered Africa was through missionaries in the Congo. The rulers of Congo wanted to trade with the Portuguese, and the Portuguese were very interested in getting the people of Congo to convert to Christianity. So, in order to like create a better trading relationship, the king of Congo converted to Christianity, and apparently was like super into it and very like a very devout Roman Catholic Christian. Again, like it spread a little bit. Like the rulers converted, and then the people didn't really. And actually, in Congo, it kind of like faded out a little bit. But that's another example of using Christianity to like create using somebody else's religion to like create a good trade relationship, and then you have money. And once you have money, then you have power. So when we talk about African rulers maintaining power and control, a lot of what we're talking about is how do they control trade. So write me 3 to 4 sentences about the idea, the ideas that are in this video. And next time we'll talk about China and Japan.